Welcome to Pantry Challenge Week 6. I have challenged myself with not going to the grocery store for the entire month of January with a stretch goal of making it until Valentine's Day. Now, this week will take us to the week before Valentine's Day, but I have decided that this is going to be the last week of Pantry Challenge, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why later. I gave myself a small $25 emergency budget for any items that I run out of that I just can't do without. So we started the week off by going to Sobeys because surprisingly we ran out of butter and I have just been craving chocolate chip cookies. And I do have a little bit of that emergency budget left. Well, when I was at Sobeys, I came across the clearance produce section, which we haven't had fresh produce in the house in a while. So I picked up some fresh tomatoes, clementines, and lemons. I think I must have blacked out when I was shopping in the produce section because I don't know why I picked up lemons. I think they must have just been such a good price that I couldn't leave them behind. I did spontaneously pick up a small bottle of cranberry juice because I wanted to make a cocktail with it. I was able to stay pretty close to within my $25 budget picking up those items. Now, Jeff is not participating in Pantry Challenge, so he is welcome to pick up whatever groceries he wants whenever he wants. So he picked up a head of lettuce for sandwiches and salads and a block of cheese. With making all of our own meals and snacks from scratch, we have blown through cheese over the last month and a half. My plan was to not enjoy those two grocery items that Jeff picked up because they would put me over my $25 budget for Pantry Challenge. But you will see later on in the week, we unexpectedly hosted 2 people for dinner, and I used those items to throw together a salad, which I could have fed to my guests and to Jeff and then not enjoyed myself. But that just seems really silly to me, so I wasn't too worried about enjoying a little bit of lettuce and cheese. But I'll bring you back to the beginning of the week so you can see how we made out. One of my goals this year is to get better at sourdough, and I wanted to practice this during Pantry Challenge. We did bake some delicious sourdough English muffins back in week 2, but I wasn't able to bake a traditional rustic sourdough loaf in January. But if you saw my week 5 Pantry Challenge video, you would have seen that we did get started on this dough on February 1st. I left it overnight in my oven with the light on, so this morning I just need to shape and bake it. I figured with going through all of this effort, I may as well double the recipe and make 2 loaves. I've had success with this recipe before. It doesn't have as many steps or stretch and folds, which seems to work a lot better for me. However, I'm not so sure why the dough was so difficult to work with on this morning. It was very sticky and difficult to shape, which was not my experience the last couple times I've tried this. My guess is that it is over fermented or overproofed. Maybe I didn't need to let it sit so long overnight, or it may not have required such a warm environment for so long. I'm not exactly sure, but I do think this is the type of skill that requires a lot of practice and failures in order to learn how it should look and feel, rather than just following steps in a recipe and expecting it to turn out. So I think I probably just need a lot more practice at this. While the bread is baking, we wanted to get started on processing this chicken. I thought that chicken sandwiches on this fresh sourdough would be so delicious. We purchased this chicken from Jeff's coworker who raised his own meat kings, and it is huge. Since we are just cooking for the 2 of us, we figured it would be best to break the chicken down and cook it a couple of different ways so we don't end up eating the same meal for the whole week. I prepped a honey mustard marinade for the 2 chicken breasts. I'll leave a link to this recipe in my description box, but essentially I season the chicken with salt, pepper, oregano, and red pepper flakes, and I'm just mixing up some honey mustard, olive oil, and garlic. So earlier today, Jeff butchered that 7-pound chicken. We've got the chicken breast still in the fridge, marinating in a honey mustard marinade. And I don't know if we'll cook that tonight or tomorrow, but I think that will make really delicious sandwiches on the sourdough that I just baked. And for supper tonight, we're gonna do braised chicken. So I also saved the skin from that chicken breast, and I actually just fried it up in a pan, and it is super crispy. I was gonna just feed this to the dogs. I feel like this would be delicious for us, but I just have that there. I probably will just give it to them as a treat. And then there was all this fat left over from frying that up. I just fried that, no oil, butter, anything, and all this fat came off of it. So I think I'm just going to heat this up in the pan that I'm gonna cook the rest of tonight's dinner in. And so what I'm gonna do is get that pan nice and hot, and I'm just gonna sear our chicken legs and thighs so that they get nice and crispy and brown on the edges. What braising is just cooking your meat in liquid. So what we're going to cook it in is some white wine and chicken broth. Once I get it all browned up, I'm going to start that sauce in here, add my meat back, and I'm gonna finish it in the oven. Got salt, pepper, and paprika. These are probably the biggest chicken legs I've ever seen in my life. What I'm trying to do here is just get the chicken really nice and crispy. We're not actually cooking the chicken all the way through since it's going to cook for much longer in the oven. But by crisping the chicken beforehand, it's going to create so much more flavor than if we were to just put the meat directly into the liquid. I will also leave this recipe in my description box. Both of these chicken recipes are from Becky from Acre Homestead. This one is a braised maple kale chicken, and the only adjustments I made to it was leaving out the kale just because we don't have any in the house, and substituting heavy cream for Greek yogurt because that's what we have. I can't wait to try to preserve more herbs from the garden next year. We do have this little bit of rosemary and thyme that has dried from the garden. I just put the whole sprigs in because this will add really delicious flavor in that cooking liquid, and it'll be really easy for me to just pull those whole sprigs out when this is done in the oven. Once this chicken was just about done baking, I pulled it out to add the maple syrup and yogurt and stuck it back in the oven for another 15 minutes. Now for the sourdough crumb shot. I don't actually know how to read crumb, but looking at this loaf of bread compared to my traditional white crusty loaf that I make with yeast, this looks a lot flatter, so I don't know if I over or underproofed this to cause it to not rise as tall as I would have liked. The crumb looks really good. I think it would have been a bit better if it was a larger loaf, so it wouldn't have been so dense, but it was still really tasty. I did end up feeding that crispy chicken skin to the dogs, and they loved it. Sit. Sit, Charlie. Easy. Oops. I think they like it. Very cute. Do you like it? Dinner was delicious. Of course, we made garlic bread with some of that sourdough and served the chicken with some spaghetti and used that cooking liquid to make our sauce. I've been craving chocolate chip cookies for probably a couple of weeks now, so I finally took the time after supper on this day to bake up a batch.
Welcome back to the Birds and the Bees Homestead. We just finished our delicious supper. And Taylor wants cookies for dessert.
And what else?
This is Michelle's recipe. Michelle as in Michelle! Michelle! Thanks for the recipe, Michelle.
I have been making this cookie recipe for years. I found it on Instagram in 2021. I went back into the archives and found the link to this Instagram post, so I will put that in my description box. This is Michelle's recipe, and Michelle was on Maddie Matheson's YouTube cooking series called Just a Dash. Maddie is a Canadian chef and is from our hometown, and he's hilarious. We love Maddie and we love Michelle. I highly recommend watching this series called Just a Dash if you haven't already. This really is the best cookie recipe, actually.
Yeah, that's good.
Michelle should know that.
Thanks, Michelle.
I stopped recording.
Thanks, Michelle!
Yeah, that's a good recipe, actually.
I've made a lot of cookies in my life. This is the best chocolate chip cookie. When I make chocolate chip cookies, I usually make up a huge batch and keep cookie dough in my freezer so I can always pull out a handful of cookies and bake up a quick and easy fresh chocolate chip cookie for dessert. But we've been out of this for a while now, so I'm really excited to get this back in my freezer. We ended up eating these way too fast. I didn't even get a clip or picture of my cookies, so I will leave a photo from Michelle's Instagram post so you can see how beautiful and delicious these chocolate chip cookies look. The following night, we were able to enjoy leftovers from that braised chicken, and we finally took the time to cook up that marinated chicken breast so we could enjoy it on sandwiches for our lunches for the week. And even though I already had dinner on this night, this chicken looked and smelled so good while we were prepping sandwiches. I had to make myself a little sandwich as a snack because I could not wait until lunch to give this a try. Surprise, surprise, we are having breakfast again for dinner.
Feel like your followers are gonna be like, oh, you guys eat a lot of breakfast.
They like breakfast.
Yeah, brown fresh eggs.
Another goal I have for myself this year is to cook with my cast iron pan a lot more. Although I think eggs is a bit of a risky one since they are prone to sticking anyways, but I'm impressed with this. They really didn't stick too bad. I think I could still use some practice, but any bits that I thought would stick to the pan ended up scraping up really easy with just a silicone spatula, and it ended up being really easy to clean. I wanted to enjoy my eggs with some toast so that I could dip them, and Jeff wanted to have his as a sandwich on some sourdough English muffins that I had batch prepped and stuck in the freezer. So I pulled out some leftover fried rice and meatballs from the freezer just to have a really quick and easy dinner tonight. We are in the middle of demolition of our laundry room, so Jeff's father is coming over tonight to give him a hand with that. So we're going to feed him while he's here. And then Jeff got a call from his sister that she's having car trouble and she's nearby, so she popped over to see if he could help her, and she's gonna stay for supper as well. So my quick and easy dinner for Jeff and I out of the freezer turned into me feeding 2 of his family members. But looking at how much we have, I think that should be plenty of meatballs for the 4 of us. I can always make more rice too and add it, but I think that should be enough. And then the other day, Jeff and I picked up a small grocery order at Sobeys. So I just have diced onion, tomato, cucumber, and lettuce. These are our favorite croutons, and I just had these left over in that corner cupboard of chaos. So I find these stay good for a really long time. I'd like to someday learn how to make my own. I've heard that you can turn sourdough into really delicious croutons pretty easily, so someday I will learn to do that, but today is not that day. I'm going to use these up. I'm probably going to chop some cheese as well to put in that salad. And then I made up some dressing, I don't know how long ago, but it's still good. It's got honey mustard, I think oil, vinegar. I think I might have even put some of the honey from my honeybees. And anyway, it's just been sitting in the fridge and needs to be used up, so I'll just dress the salad with this dressing. And I might as well throw some cookies in the oven while I'm at it. I just made up a batch of chocolate chip cookies to have in the freezer. I know I also have molasses, like ginger cookies that I made too much of around the holidays, and so I just froze them in little dough balls so they'd be quick and easy to throw in the oven. So I think that would be really good for dinner tonight. Here are those little cookie balls that I was telling you about. I didn't realize how many I had. There's gonna be 4 of us. Maybe I'll make 8 cookies. I think I can probably fit 8 on one tray. I definitely want to keep making it a habit of having these quick and easy ready to go desserts in my freezer. And now I even have some on my pantry shelf. Now that I have that apple pie filling, I could throw together an apple crisp really, really quickly. If I had oats, which I have not restocked on yet, but hopefully soon we'll make a trip to Costco and restock a lot of things that we ran out of or just didn't have during Pantry Challenge, but I'm gonna get these in the oven. I did not get a clip of supper all pulled together, but we threw together some more garlic bread on sourdough, and here are the leftover cookies. After supper, Jeff and his father were working away at the laundry room. I decided to check on my mushrooms, which I have not updated you on yet. Look at what I found. There were so many mushrooms, and they're so freaking big. I would highly recommend, if you enjoy mushrooms and you like growing things in your garden, this is such a fun thing to be able to grow on my bookshelf as I so impatiently wait for garden season to come again for me to be able to grow things outside. I think I'll definitely buy this again every winter just so that I can have something fresh that I grew myself in my house. I bought this kit at Costco in the fall, but I was able to find something really similar on Amazon, so I will leave a link to that mushroom growing kit in my description box. I think this is the moment that I finally decided to just give in and call it quits on Pantry Challenge. Being in the middle of this unplanned laundry room renovation is just taking up a lot of our mental and physical energy, so we just decided to order a pizza on this night, and man, did this taste good. I miss greasy takeout pizza. Big Friday night plans for Jeff and I, about to do some damage at Costco. After grocery shopping, I had to pick up a poutine because Costco's poutine is so good. I missed it. If you're not Canadian, a poutine is just French fries covered in cheese and gravy. I will make sure to do a full grocery haul of everything that we picked up after not going to the grocery store for over a month. On Saturday, we went skiing and we did pack a lunch, even though we were so tempted to get a burger. We probably would have if the line wasn't so long. So when we got home, we knew we were gonna want burgers for supper. And they were so delicious with some of these mushrooms that I grew on my bookshelf. Now this weekend happened to be Super Bowl Sunday, so I wanted to show you a couple of snacks that we pulled together to enjoy while we watched the game. We made homemade bagel bites and a taco dip. So we just browned up some meat with taco seasoning and then threw in a bunch of my homemade salsa, which is a really chunky salsa. It's so good and it's really good on a dip. And then Jeff had this really good idea to put some of our refried beans on this dip as well. You can see I'm putting it into 2 containers because for just the 2 of us, we're not going to eat that much dip. So I figured I would do my future self a favor and throw one in the freezer. And we've never done refried beans on this dip before, but I definitely will in the future because it was really good and it was a good way to use up some of these beans that I made too much of. You would have seen in last week's video that I made a bunch of homemade bagels and I decided to make mini bagels for these bagel bites and that was really, really good. I think I'm gonna try to do that again. We may not have finished this challenge too strong with picking up a pizza and having that Costco poutine, but I'm still really proud of how this week went. What I think I want to continue to do in the future is make a conscious effort when I am going to be ordering pizza or Chinese or any sort of takeout. I want to order those things because I want to and I'm choosing to have that for dinner, not necessarily because it was a lack of planning or stocking my pantry shelf with convenience items to have on nights that I'm tired or need something really, really handy. I still have fully prepared meals in my freezer and on my pantry shelf. I mentioned that we are in the middle of a unplanned renovation and I just as easily could have thrown a frozen shepherd's pie in the oven or opened a can of soup from my pantry shelf. So I hope to continue to give my future self that gift of having that choice, whether I choose to order a pizza because that's what I want or I'm in a pinch and I don't have time to think or cook. I'm just gonna open a can or pop something in the oven. I've definitely learned the value and importance of having those convenience items on hand ready to go. Now I said we didn't necessarily finish the week strong, but that's not completely true. I had very last minute dinner plans to accommodate 2 additional people, which I was able to quickly and easily throw something together to host them, including a freshly baked dessert. We also went skiing, which I did pack a lunch for, and while we were there, we were so tempted to pick up a burger, but I'm really proud that we were able just to enjoy the lunch that I packed. We brought a Hickory Farms meat and cheese tray that we got for Christmas as a gift. So I'm glad we did settle for ordering a couple of beers, but we were able to wait until we get home so that we could make our own burgers for supper. I do plan on doing a full post Pantry Challenge pantry tour of my fridge, freezer, and pantry to compare how much of a dent did we put in them, how does it compare to my pre-Pantry Challenge tour to see what are the major changes. How well stocked am I now that I have not gone to the grocery store after a month and a half? I will also do a full haul of everything that I got at Costco and how much it cost me to do a full restock after not going grocery shopping for a month and a half. Finally, I want to do kind of a sit down style video where I go over all of my thoughts on this challenge. How do I feel like it went? What are some of the biggest challenges that I faced? What are my biggest takeaways and learnings from this experience? Would I do it again? I will say that I am really proud of how I did in this challenge. I do truly think that if I really wanted to make it another full week without going to the grocery store, I certainly could have done so. I believe last week is when I actually decided that we were going to do our big grocery restock shopping trip, but Jeff and I came down with a cold last week and we were sick and things came up and we just weren't able to get to the grocery store, which is why we went at the end of week 6. And we decided to end Pantry Challenge a little bit early and go grocery shopping for a couple of reasons. I am Canadian and in Canada until February 15th, we have a break on our sales tax on all grocery items, which includes snacks and pre-packaged convenience meals. So we wanted to take advantage of this tax break because we knew we would be stocking up on some of those items, including chips and snacks and that sort of thing. So we figured we'd save ourselves a little bit of money and grocery shop a bit early. And then another challenge that is facing Canadians right now is that there's a lot of uncertainty over upcoming tariffs. which I won't get into, but we don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs or what kind of impact it's going to have on us or when it's even going to be implemented. So it could result in inflation, it could result in shortages, or even losing access to some items that completely stock out and aren't restocked. So we figured let's just restock early, try and save ourselves a little bit of money, and try to avoid some of those potential challenges. So do I think I could have made it to my Valentine's Day stretch goal? Yes, absolutely. I think I totally could have done that if I really wanted to. I still have some convenience meals. It probably wouldn't have even been too difficult. Am I disappointed that I didn't make it to my stretch goal? No, actually, I'm not disappointed at all. I'm quite proud of how I did over the last month and a half. I think in some instances, I am even better stocked now than I was going into Pantry Challenge with all of the homemade items that we were able to make during Pantry Challenge. I've got homemade tortillas, bagels, and English muffins. Very well stocked in my freezer right now. So thank you to those of you who have been following along on this journey in this challenge with me. If you are new, I encourage you to check out my Pantry Challenge playlist so you can see what we've been up to over the last month and a half. And I also encourage you to subscribe if you aren't already, because we've got an upcoming Pantry Tour, Costco grocery restock haul, and a recap video on how Pantry Challenge went. And who knows what we'll get up to after that, but I hope I will see you then.